I did want to ask you this question before we get into some other comments here. I want to ask you guys about Doc Rivers because the Bucks, and I want to ask the chat too. Everybody, so chime in here. Let us know what you think. Doc Rivers inherited a basketball team. Now, he didn't inherit a basketball team that was 40-13. We understand that. But he inherited a bottom third of the league defense. In the last 10 games, the Milwaukee Bucks have the number 3 defense in the NBA. That's not including tonight, so that probably maybe jumped up another notch. Again, we just talked about the Bucks have held the last 4 opponents under 100 points. 6 out of the last 9 games under 100 points. The Bucks had, I believe, where if they weren't dead last, they were like next to dead last transition defense. The Bucks are now a top 5 transition defense. The Milwaukee Bucks have, and I think, like I said, 90% of that has been just effort. Doc Rivers, I do think he's changed scheme just a little. I think he's tweaked some of the defensive scheme, made it simpler, and guys are communicating better. But a lot of that is just based on effort and hustle, determination, buy-in to the coaching staff. The offense is now more deliberate. Now, it has not scored at the level that it did under Adrian Griffin, but the offense is clearly more deliberate. It seems like they have more of a direction. It seems like they know what they want to do. The pace has slowed, which actually, the interesting thing about the pace slowing in, which also leads to a decreased scoring output from the Bucks. But the interesting thing about the pace slowing is that this team looks a little bit more ready for the playoffs because you're not ranked, and that's why I always thought the Pacers are going to be in trouble. You're not zipping up and down the court during the playoffs. You have to run your half-court offense. The Milwaukee Bucks now have a more deliberate half-court offense under Doc Rivers. The Milwaukee Bucks are now 8-7 under Doc Rivers, and remember, he took over in the middle of a West Coast road trip. Doc Rivers has transformed the defense from objectively one of the worst defenses in the NBA to, as he's been here, one of the better defenses in the NBA. And by the way, the only change to that team has really been swapping out Cam Payne for Patrick Beverley. Now, you can argue how big of a move that was, but that's been the addition. Dame Lillard's still here. Malik Beasley's still playing defense. Bobby Porter's some people, hey, we got to get him out of here. Nope, he's still in here. He's showing that he can play defense. My question to you guys, should Doc Rivers have serious consideration if this continues for Coach of the Year, for this transformation job he has done for the Milwaukee Bucks and their look of their team offensively, defensively?
No, listen, like, and here's why. The Coach of the Year is going to look at the overall body of work. And yes, Doc has done some great things over this last 10 days, but he's got some ugly losses to a hapless Memphis team where the Bucks looked absolutely awful. And there's another bad loss in there. I'm trying to remember the other one as well. That was just completely unacceptable. I mean, there was a Heat loss in there with no Jimmy.
You lost to Portland and Utah.
You lost to Portland, right? You letting Scoot and them boys cook you. I mean, no, there's some bad losses in there. Now, I get that Bud has changed, or that the Black Bud, right? Doc Rivers has changed the trajectory of the Bucks defense, and it's palpable. We can all see it, right? With the same exact personnel, minus Patrick Beverley, who I think is actually a big addition, right? But plus or minus one player with the same personnel. Doc has found ways to unlock defensive potential in guys who we really haven't seen much defensive potential in the last 5 years. See Damian Lillard, see Malik Beasley, see Bobby Portis. So you got to give him credit on that. But Coach of the Year, man, I mean, taking over a half a season, at some point, right, this Bucks team is probably going to get the 2 seed. They were going to get the 2 seed anyway. I'm not really sure there's enough runway there for Doc Rivers to legitimately be considered Coach of the Year solely based on the defensive prowess that this team's now starting to show.
Well, so I'm going to put some heavy analysis on your question. You said if this keeps up, I mean, at this point, 5-0 past the All-Star break. He did take over a team that was totally not bought in, a team that did have injuries at that point, too. When you look at the Phoenix loss, I mean, Dame didn't play. He had a couple of injuries. I think he had that ankle injury, and Chris Middleton then went out after they kind of swapped spots, basically. And I do think if he keeps it up, I mean, you've at least got to consider it. I mean, this is a guy who came in, went one by one and told these players that you're not going to be able to get off with some of this BS you're doing. And then all of a sudden this thing flips around and he's holding teams to under 100 points consistently after the All-Star break. I think there's got to be some consideration there. I don't necessarily think that there's anybody else in the league that is head and shoulders over him if this thing keeps up. So, I think there's definitely consideration for Doc winning Coach of the Year.
And here's the thing: I don't know that it necessarily should. I'm kind of on the fence here. I'm with you, John. That should he necessarily win the award? No. But I'm always down for a good narrative, and I love narratives. So if you want me to buy into the fact, because here the facts are the facts. Talking heads, media, all the articles told me that Adrian Griffin was the worst coach in the world, worst coach to ever pick up a clipboard. Adrian, I can't believe, he's the worst coach. Oh my God, that's what I was told. So if that's what you're putting down, then I'll pick it up. Doc Rivers is now here and has transformed this entire thing. So to me, if you're telling me that if that was the Bucks' problem, and now you literally have seen a transformation from worst coach to a coach who's come in and changed everything. As I think King of Kings said, Doc has changed the culture. Guys like Pat Bev, Bobby, always Giannis. You seen a complete culture shift from this basketball team. I don't know. Bobby Porter's upset. Everybody's upset. Everybody's all mad. Now all of a sudden the vibes are good. I don't know what more the media basically built this up. And if now you're going to vote and you're going to have this Coach of the Year discussions, I don't know how you can. I'm just saying, I don't know how you can have a Coach of the Year conversation. Does he win it? Maybe not. But I don't know how you can have a conversation without Doc Rivers in it if you were screaming to me about how bad Adrian Griffin was. Well, look at what's going on now. This is the transformation.
Yeah, and they were also saying this when Doc Rivers was the coach as well. Look, when he had that 3-7 start, they were saying that this team is just terrible. This team is god awful. They're losing games to Memphis. They're putting it on the players. They're putting it on everybody else. They're putting it on John Horst. Why are you firing AJ? So the media definitely did a good job of building it up. Now I think some of the comments are saying, it's a full season award and stuff like that. And rightfully so. I think guys like Mark Dagnall from OKC probably gets more of a look there because they are a top whatever seed in the Western Conference and they've really made a big push. But you just have to think that if this keeps up, if they continue to win games and win, go on winning streaks like this and go on the road in the West and beat good teams, then, why not?